Hi friends, Mandy here, and I have a new layout to share with you today. This one is for the Vicki Boutin design team, and as you can see, I'm going to be working on a double page layout today. So it has been a very long time since I've created one. I did actually used to create a lot of double page layouts, and about probably 3 years ago I switched over to single layouts, and that was around the time that I switched from using the post-bound albums to the D-ring albums. So when I was using the post-bound albums, I really liked the look of the double spread in those, but when I started using the D-ring albums, I switched over to doing more single page layouts. And I also used to create a lot of double pages because I didn't have a printer at home. I now use my Canon Selfie pretty much to print all of my photos, but when I was getting them printed at the printers, I was mainly working with 4x6 photos, and I used to like to include a lot of photos onto my page, and so a double spread was an easy way of including, you know, multiple photos without it getting too crowded. But yeah, it has been probably about 3 years since I've created a double layout. So it was a bit of a challenge to go back to creating in that format again. You sort of have to, it's just having a bigger canvas, I guess, is trickier to work with. So what I'm doing today is I want to create a bit of a mixed media background for my page. And you'll notice that I have just stuck my 2 pages together with some washi tape on the back. So one tip that I would give you when you're working with a double layout is treat it as one large layout. Don't see it as 2 separate layouts. I nearly always used to do this when I was working on double page layouts, is I would stick them together at the back, and then for me in my mind I then can see it as one large layout. And so when I was adding my mixed media to the background, I made sure that I sort of had parts of it going over the join there. And that kind of just joins the 2 pages together in my mind, and just makes the 2 pages look cohesive. It makes them look like they belong together. And so what I'm using today are the new watercolors from Vicki Boutin, and these are amazing. They're so pigmented and vibrant. The colors are gorgeous. And so I wanted to, on this page, I'm going to be using, as you can see, yellow and teal, and I'm also going to introduce some orange, but not onto my background, so that will come in later with the embellishments. So I started off with a layer of yellow on the background, and as you can see, I just squeezed a little bit of it of the watercolor onto some plastic packaging, and then I spritzed it with some water, and then I just used my brayer to add it to the background. And then I did the same thing again with that teal color. I actually mixed together a blue and a green to make that teal color. But when I did that, it wasn't what I was looking for. It was too dark, I think. So then my next solution was, as you just saw, what I did then was add some stenciling over the top of that teal color with some gesso, but that didn't work. And the reason that didn't work was because my page was a little bit buckled, and so I really should have taped the stencil with some washi tape to the page, because it wasn't sitting flat to the page. The gesso sort of seeped underneath it, and so the stenciling didn't work. So that's okay. It gave me an opportunity to add another layer. So I decided to just then add some gesso over the top. As you can see, I used the brayer to start with, and now I'm just using a palette knife just to tone down that dark teal color. And so you'll still be able to see it sort of showing through, but it doesn't look quite so dark now that I've added that gesso over the top. And it also just adds another layer, some more interest to the background. So this was the first time that I had tried using a brayer to apply watercolors to a background, and I guess you just get a different look than you would if you used say plastic packaging or a paintbrush. And my brayer is nothing fancy. It's just a cheap one that I picked up. But I really like the effect that it gives, and I'm really happy with how that background turned out using the brayer. So the last thing I'm going to do on the background is just add some white splatters. So I've just used some gesso and watered that down. And then I'm using just a small paintbrush. It's actually one of Vicky's new paintbrushes that she's just released. And I'm just splattering that around the page. Okay, so my background is done now. And as you can see, I've brought in my photos. And I'm going to include 5 photos on this page. And the photos that I'm scrapbooking were taken on my birthday last year, back in September. Where we live, we have so many beautiful beaches nearby, all within around about 10 to 15 minutes drive from our house. And so we decided, it was the school holidays, so the kids were home from school, and we decided to spend the day at the beach, and we had beautiful weather and we all had so much fun. So it was a beautiful day, and we got lots of photos, and I wanted to be able to document them all on one page. And so a double layout was perfect for this, because I would not have been able to fit this many photos onto a single layout without it looking crowded. And so you'll notice that I'm going to be scrapbooking 5 photos, and you'll notice that they vary in size and orientation. And so that just adds some more interest to the page. Rather than them all being portrait or all being landscape, having them in different orientations just helps to add some interest to the page. And I guess they're all roughly a similar size. I printed probably the smaller ones are just under 3 by 4, and some of them are slightly larger than that. And the way that I have positioned them, you'll notice that the photo on the right, over onto the right hand side of the page, that's of my eldest daughter. She's facing towards the center of the page, the way that I've arranged that. And then the same on the left hand page, my youngest daughter is looking towards the right. So I just made sure that the way that I arranged them, that everyone was sort of, if there were any photos where the person wasn't looking directly at the camera or their body was facing a particular way, I tried to arrange them so that they were facing towards the middle of the page rather than off the edge of the page. So that's sort of what I had in mind when I was arranging the photos on the page. And then you'll also notice I've stuck down my photos now. I've matted a couple of them with a patterned paper, and some of them I have mounted with some foam tape. And this just all helps to add some more interest to the page and some dimension as well. And so I'm happy with how those photos are now, and I'm ready to start embellishing. And so, as I said before, I wanted to bring in a little bit of that orange. So I've mainly used the yellow and the teal, but I wanted to bring in a little bit of orange just to pick up on those bright colours that my daughters were wearing in the photos. And I like that pop of orange. It's sort of like almost a reddish orange that adds to the page. And then I decided I wanted some more butterflies. I've used 2 of the die cuts from the All the Good Things collection from Vicki Boutin. And then I wanted to add a couple more butterflies to the page. So I'm just going to fussy cut them out of that beautiful patterned paper. And so I'm going to cut out this teal one, and then I will also cut out one in that deep orange colour as well. And as I'm embellishing, I'm just keeping in mind some of the principles that I would use on a single page layout. So if you have trouble with, I guess, the design aspect of a double layout, try and still incorporate those same things that you would do on your single layouts. Things like using visual triangles and that sort of thing will really help to draw the viewer's eye around your page and will help it to look balanced and cohesive. Especially when you're creating a double page layout, you really want the 2 pages to really look like they belong together. So, when I'm thinking about my embellishment clusters, I'm thinking about including each of the colours into those clusters to help it to look balanced. And I'm thinking about the visual triangles. So I've got on this page three, although I've got 4 butterflies, I've got 3 areas where I've got the butterflies. So even though there's 2 up there on the right, I sort of see that as one cluster. And then down there where I'm adding that orange butterfly is the second one. And then over there on the left where that large butterfly is, that's my third. So that just creates a visual triangle on the page just to help draw your eye around the page. And you'll notice that I also try and include a little bit of each of the colors that I'm using on the page into each cluster as well. So even if it's just an enamel dot or something like that in a particular color, that just adds that little bit of pop of that color to that cluster and helps it to look balanced. And when I was sticking down those butterflies, I added some foam tape to the back, or some craft foam, just to the wings, just so that they would sit nicely up off the page, because I wanted them to have some really nice dimension and to look like they were sort of floating off the page. And so now I've pulled out the cardstock stickers from the collection, and I'm just adding a few of those around the page as well. And I'm getting fairly close to being done now. I have added my journaling to that label there that I'm adding underneath the title, and I used the chipboard figures from the All the Good Things collection to add my title to the page. And now I'm just adding a few finishing touches. As I said, I like to make sure that all of the clusters look balanced. So I'm just adding some enamel dots around the page to add little pops of colour, and they just add a little bit more detail to the page as well. And then I will be done. So thank you so much for joining me today. I'll have some close-ups here at the end for you. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to ask. And also, if you are looking for some mixed media inspiration, go check out Vicki has started a Facebook group called Vicki Boutin Mixed Media Community. Go check that out. Come and join us. There's always lots happening there. People sharing. Vicki does Facebook Live videos as well. So if you're looking for some mixed media inspiration, make sure you go check out that group and check out Vicki's artist page on Facebook as well. So guys, that's it. I will be back soon, and thanks so much for joining me. See you later. Bye.